Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, and this is the second Snap Judgments of the day for Sunday. Today, what we're going to look at is the decks I used to hit Infinite. We're going to go over every deck I used for a significant sample of games at Infinite, but have no fear if you're already Infinite. If you're just looking for top decks, one of these decks, the very first deck we're going to talk about, is currently the rank 4 deck on the Infinite leaderboard as well. It's an absolute beast that we need to cover and talk about. Before we get there, though, this is also the video where I'm going to announce the season pass winners. We've got 5 season pass winners. From here on out, we're giving away an extra Captain Carter once a week. I have to do a sub, like, and comment. That comment begins on this video. I will ask you a specific question. As long as you comment, you are entered to win this week's version of Captain Carter. I should also be live as you're watching this. If you watch this as soon as it goes live over on Twitch, if you want to check out twitch.tv/PulseGlazer, where I am, spoiler alert, giving away another Captain Carter. All right, the deck I used to hit Infinite, this is the deck I used to cross the threshold. I used it, I believe, from around 95 to 100. This is Scream Connoisseur's rank 4 deck. This one peaked at rank 2. It is absolutely silly how strong this is. Basically, what Scream decks do, or what Scream Connoisseur is, in particular is doing with Scream decks, is he's taking Scream decks and he's saying, what tech cards do I need? What lets me answer the meta? The meta as it is right now, I don't know what you're seeing, but I'm seeing Mobius every other game. So we've got Mobius and Shang-Chi in here. And then the one-drop spot has become like this variety piece that you can do so many things with. Well, Nico Minoru gives you some optionality. It changes out a bad location for you. It allows you to have some curve filler. I got it up to a 1.8. I got it to a 120 in one game. There's a lot of different combinations you can pull off with Nico that other cards don't allow, and that is a cube thief. Scream Connoisseur is once again currently ranked 4 on the Infinite leaderboard with this list. We'll look at my stats with it in a moment, but also he peaked at rank 2. This is an absolute legit top meta list. Play it. The beauty of Scream decks is, as always, that they only really need Scream. They're otherwise just okay. Nico can be Hydra Bob, Nebula, or Kingpin. Sam Wilson can be Iron Patriot, or you're probably stuck replacing it with the 3. Sam is very important to these decks because it gives you an extra way to get Miles out, while it also gives you an extra way to scale up your Kraven. Rocket and Groot and Copycat can be Juggernaut, Red Guardian, Stegron, Gladiator, so on, and Cannonball can be Arrow or Magneto. Feel free to run a more robust top end as you so choose. This version, however, chooses to go a little lower, and we'll talk about how and why that works. So Nico has a lot of useful abilities here. The main ones, the +2 is surprisingly effective in terms of powering the deck. The location change is obviously incredibly useful when it comes up, especially because the -4 location is pretty common. And sometimes you really want that location, and sometimes you really don't, right? Like sometimes you're going to need to move your Rocket and Groot in there, and having your Rocket and Groot move into that location when it is giving -4 is pretty damn bad. There's a lot of stuff like that that Nico allows. I got her hit with the plus the top card's power location, and then she became a 120 in one game. She's just a really useful card. She adds a lot to the deck. I don't think she's in any way a requirement, but having an extra tool for Scream decks is very powerful. Scream is, in my personal opinion, in a two-person race with Sam Wilson as the best card in the game. Scream is a build around. Scream lets this deck exist. Without Scream, there is no opponent move card list. Scream has been, since her release, one of the top win rate cards in Marvel Snap, rivaling Mr. Negative on play, which is insane power for a card. Scream is one of the best cards in the game and a must-have. Kraven has multiple ways to be used here. Obviously, if you get Sam Wilson out, you can scale your Kraven up very effectively. Outside of that, there's stuff like Spider-Man, Rocket and Groot, Polaris, and Cannonball, which are all pretty nice with Kraven. Honestly, if you trigger him once, you're not doing too bad, right? A 2-5 is still great stats. If you can trigger him twice, a 2-7 is really doing stellar work. Sam Wilson, played on 2 or 3, is a 2-8. He obviously works with Kraven, as we just detailed. He also works very well right now with Miles Morales as a way to get Miles to a 1-6, so it can be played whenever you want. Sam is incredible. And the other card in competition for the best in the game. Depends if you want something hyper-specific that goes way over the top, Scream, or something that fundamentally goes in every deck and increases its win rate. That's Sam. Spider-Man as a cheap mover is through the roof useful. Feel free to, I would almost never play it on turn 2, unless like your curve is absolutely abysmal. But generally speaking, Spider-Man is absolutely great as curve filler on turn 4 or turn 5 because it will trigger Scream, it could potentially trigger your Kraven, it gets your Miles cheap, it does everything this deck wants to do at a really nice rate. This is also the card I was most often turning into a demon. I'd let it swing, and then all of a sudden in the new place, look, it's a demon. Next up, we have Mobius. Mobius feels like a requirement in my meta. It is now a Series 3 card, which is really nice, but everyone I'm playing is playing some combination of like Mockingbird or She-Hulk or something like that, and or Negative or whatever, and Mobius just saying, they snap me, I snap back, I drop Mobius, hopefully behind a shield, so it's protected from Red Guardian, and then I should be able to win that game most of the time. Sometimes Mobius is Enchantress, but that usually messes up their tempo enough that I can win anyway. Rocket and Groot is another top card in the game. I don't think it's quite as good as Sam and Scream, but it plays as almost always at least a 3/7 in power. A moving 3/7, you just paid 3 basically for a vision, right? It often gets significantly bigger. I've got a lot of games where I'm hitting with this, instead of 2 times, I'm hitting with it like 4 times, and now it's playing as a 3/11, which is just huge. On the last turn of the game, you should know where your opponent's very likely to play, and Rocket and Groot is insane at winning that lane. In a fairly mid-range meta, Copycat is one of the best cards. That's why she's here. It can be Red Guardian, feel free, but in a fairly mid-range meta, which we're in, Copycat is just through the roof powerful. You get things like Iron Man and Goliath and such all the time with her. Polaris is a must for every Scream deck. She's just a nice, easy, simple to trigger move. She obviously, again, also works with Craven and to get Miles working. Spider-Man, when Spider-Man was a 3/5 and Polaris were like a twosome for this, now they're sort of separated a little bit, which means they're easier to play together. Shang is basically saying, I don't know if you've been noticing it, but that Scar deck is everywhere again. The Sauron version of it is like just constantly being played. Shang says if you Shang that on 5, you've messed up their whole Scar shenanigans, and then you should be able to win the game. It's basically the gist of this play here. It's good into other things, obviously, too. It could be Enchantress for all I care, but I really am partial to Shang-Chi as a way to steal extra cubes. 1/6 is a lot of stats for Miles, and you should have a relatively easy time triggering him. Once in a while, you're going to have to move Rocket and Groot a turn before you want to on turn 5 in order to trigger Miles for turn 6, but outside of that, he's basically always turned on. Mobius will keep him off, but hey, a 4/6 isn't terrible stats anyway. And then Cannonball is your lane and game winner. You usually get so tall in one game, and Cannonball is in one lane, excuse me, or you clog them in one lane using your cards like Polaris, that Cannonball's ability to go over the top is very, very consistent in winning another location. This is again rank 4 and peaked at rank 2. I personally went 13-3 with an 81%, which is an 81% win rate, which you saw in the thumbnail, and plus 22 cubes, which is a little less than a 2 cube average on my way to infinite. This one feels way, way too strong. I cannot urge you to play it enough. Turn 1 can be Nico. It could be anything. You feel free to save Nico for the right time, but just try and keep track of what spell she's cycling through. Turn 2 is Scream, and Scream is basically your snap condition. That's what the white means here, a snap condition. Scream is better than Sam, is better than Craven as your early plays. Turn 3, you Mobius if you think it's going to stop your opponent. If you have Mobius and you know you can go 3+2 on turn 5, you can feel free to save Mobius for them, although if they drop some stuff on turn 5, you're going to feel a little silly. You can try and save Mobius for some extra cube equity later in the game, though. You can also just play Rocket and Groot with Prio. I almost always play Rocket and Groot here, and 2s are generally fine. Turn 4, you want 2 2s or a 3+1. Either one is fine. This is generally speaking a really good turn to get like the other of Sam or Craven out. If you played Scream, you could just play both together in the same lane and then move the shield to it, which is going to give you a +4 that location. Stuff like that is really good here. If you played Rocket and Groot here, you could also Polaris on 3 if you played Scream or Craven. If you did that now on turn 4, another 3 and a 1 is a really good play. 3 and Nico, 3 and Miles is a really good play. Turn 5, you want 3+2, generally speaking. You want Spidey, Mobius, Rocket, Groot, Copycat, and so on. Feel free to let this be the Craven turn. Again, you will have played Sam by now, ideally. You can play Sam now here if it's still important, and times it's important include when a location can be one on the cheap, like a Sanctum location can be one on the cheap with just that shield. Keep that in mind. Turn 6 is generally speaking Cannonball and Shang, or Shang +1, and if you can play either of those, you usually win. You should have snapped earlier if that was the case, if you got that clog. If Cannonball's going to auto-win you the game, if Shang's going to auto-win you the game, you should have snapped earlier, but they can be snap conditions as well. One last look at this Butte. This is, again, my infinite list. We're going to take a while and look at all the other decks I used to climb, which can hopefully help you climb on your journey to infinite and well beyond climbing the ranks. Before we get there, though, I'm going to ask you to hit that sub button if you're willing to. We are right around the corner from 20,000 subs. Our goal for 2025 is 25,000 subs. We need your support to get there. Please hit that sub, a like, and a comment. Also go an incredibly long way to helping us out. So if you're willing, please do so. All right, this is our last chance review of Goliath before we talk about that next deck. Goliath is a very strong and very consistent card. It is going to go in every ongoing deck, I think, for the rest of Marvel Snap's life cycle, unless they release something completely broken. It's very hard for me to see an ongoing deck that doesn't run Goliath. If you enjoy ongoing, feel free to go get Goliath. There is a big caveat that ongoing will not always be good. There are times ongoing is going to be meta and relevant, and in those times, Goliath is going to feel like an amazing purchase, as he is right now. However, there are also times when ongoing is going to be a tier 2 or 3 strategy, and Goliath is going to feel like wasted tokens. If you're okay with that, feel free to go grab Goliath. In addition, the rule for the month before we get the new system is if you only want one card, if you can, use tokens. If you want 2 or more cards, if you can, use keys. All clear? Good. The first deck I used to get through the 70s is this deck that we covered in Tuesday's video. It's called No Space for Toxic. We're going to talk through it, and then I'm going to tell you where you can find it, what my stats were with it. So this deck is built to fundamentally counter a lot of the, it's meant to be able to play ongoing and use energy cheat to put up a lot of power. It is built to counter a lot of the ongoing stuff in the meta thanks to the presence of Super Skrull, and at least in my meta, I'm seeing more ongoing stuff than, more affliction stuff than I would like, and thus Luke and Super Skrull. Zabu lets me be able to play extra cards here. Goliath, Sam, Mr. Fantastic, those are all power cards. Goliath and Mr. Fantastic in particular are very good with Moonstone. But Moonstone's main targets here are Ravonna Renslayer, so that you can have extremely cheap explosive last turns. -2 to all your cards is very, very strong. Or you can get a Mystique that has copied Iron Man under Moonstone. Cool. If you can get that Mystique that copied Iron Man under Moonstone, you have a double Iron Man lane. Even with just that 6 power, you are now basically winning that lane and going way over the top. Anti-Venom gives you an extra way to do cheap and powerful things. And Spectrum is a finisher because you're running so many ongoing cards. I'm going to tell you, the more I've played this, the less I've liked Spectrum. I'm almost never playing Spectrum at the end of the game, but everything else here makes a ton of sense to me. This is a very powerful list. I played it through the 70s. I crushed with it. Uh, because I stopped playing lists after a certain amount of time, usually doesn't mean that they stopped being effective. I'm a content creator. You might know that because you are literally watching a video I'm making right now, right? So the way I have to do this is once I've done a video on the deck, I try and move on to another deck because I'm constantly trying to find new things to cover, new things to talk about for you guys. So once the deck is featured, it moves on. So you can find Toxic Soul King playing this list at twitch.tv/Toxic Soul King. It was created by our friend Space, who doesn't do content creation. I went 8-3 with this, which is a 73% win rate, a cube rate over 1 at plus 15 cubes. And again, I covered this fully last Wednesday. This meta deck is Day 1 Infinite with an 85% win rate. That 85% win rate was Toxic's as he hit Infinite with it. Please go feel free to check it out if you want card replacements and turn by turn for this list. From there, we have Splat Surfer. This is all over the place right now because I believe Dexter just covered it. Dexter found this on Untapped. I don't think he knew Splat made it. Splat is well beyond this now, and he's back onto playing his complete meme decks, trying to pull off completely absurd combos. He's brilliant and insane. This list does not look like it works, and then you play it, and everything really does come together quite well. What you're fundamentally trying to do with this list is sort of stall early, use Sam for a little early power, and then if you can get Galacta or Gwenpool into Sarah, you can have an explosive endgame that leads to a massive cube spike. This is a very fun list if it is inconsistent, but it is quite fun and quite strong. The creator of this list is Splat, twitch.tv/Splaticus. This is the main deck I used in the 80s. I went 9-4, which is a 69% win rate. Nice. At plus 24 cubes. You can find this at We Played Captain Carter Wrong because this is one powerful way to play Captain Carter. I am convinced Captain Carter is a card that wants to be played with Galactic and Gwenpool right now and will in a couple days want to be played with Kahori. I think that's where we're going to want to be with this card because again, like if I can go Galacta into Sarah, right? I can now play Captain Carter and Brood and just go off. If I've got a Zabu, I can play Captain Carter and Brood and Surfer, or Captain Carter and Brood and Juggernaut, or with Shaw, or whatever. And that these just massive power spikes are so good. And when you don't see Sarah, or when Captain Carter costs 1 less, she just ends up being amazing as like this extra bit of power. The Sam shield works really well with her to make sure that she gets in the front row where she needs to be. And this list does come together super strong. The other list I used in the 80s and early 90s is this deck from Sco-Denim, the head writer at SnapFan. This one's really, really cool. This one I kept in my game because I'm going to want to play more of this at Infinite. It is a Wiccan list. Our friends Sco and Ika are just obsessed with Wiccan. I feel like it's all they play. I love you guys, but like every other, you're like, I'm killing things with Wiccan. Wiccan never shows up for me. Wiccan absolutely hates me. Um, or he shows up in my opening hand when I can't possibly have Wiccan curve, as the case may be. But this is a fairly simple list, right? If you can play Zabu early, you play Zabu early, you try and keep a Wiccan curve alive. And then when the time, and like Zabu lets you occasionally get the early Wiccan, the early Gwenpool, Galactor, or Captain Carter, all of which are awesome. And then once you can get that stuff out, you should be able to win because you have 8,000 buffers, right? Your Galactor, your Gwenpool, your Captain Carter buff your little cards to being real threats. Rocket and Groot moves around. Iron Patriot gives you an extra threat. Sam is way too many stats for a 2-drop. You have control from Red Guardian and Shang, and Captain Carter basically makes a lane like feel unbeatable. I'm convinced there's a Captain Carter ongoing surfer list somewhere that we just have to find. So again, you can find Sco at twitter.com/ScoDenim. He's also the head writer at SnapFan if you're interested in checking him out. This I went 10-2 with this, 83% win rate plus 15 cubes. And we played Captain Carter wrong. Same video as that Splat list. This was the thumbnail list. This is the 80% win rate list because I had an 83% win rate with it. So check this one out. I really do think that this is a tier 1 level deck. Hey, we're going to do what I think is currently one of the top decks in Marvel Snap next. But first, please check me out on stream. I should be live right now at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. If not, hit that follow button so you don't miss out. And we have our giveaway winners. Our season pass question is really simple. What has been your best deck so far this season? What have you played most and enjoyed the most? If you'd like to include what your rank is currently, that'd be really cool, but you don't feel like you have to. Our winners of season passes are the 5 on screen: Bull Power, Hollow Shade, uh, Adrian Dorothy, Stuff, and Stuntman Mark. Please feel free to reach out on Discord at PulseGlazer or email me at snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com in order to claim your Captain Carter season passes. Again, check out a stream, and let's get to the last deck. Our last deck is Derek Thanos. We talked about this a little bit in the top 10 decks in Marvel Snap on Friday's video, in which we do a hugely thorough breakdown of the 10 best decks in the game. So if you're interested, you can check it out there. But we're going to do that full breakdown again here because we haven't done anything that's not an hour-long video, which means like I recognize that putting it like a half hour into an hour-long video isn't going to get it in front of as many people, although KM did a video on this, and it's therefore likely to be around anyway. So between me and Cam both covering it, I expect this to be a very popular deck. But despite the large sample of this is one of the top win rate decks in the game, which is what I really need to be able to call it one of the best. This one is pounding on the door of tier 1. I think this is either a tier 1 deck or right at the door of a tier 1 deck. I do personally believe that this is where Thanos is right now. This is the best version of Thanos, even if I'm not in love with Wiccan in the list. I would run Luna Snow because I like 3 more than 4. But this list is crazy strong. Like, it puts out so much power. Ant-Man, Goliath, Dazzler, Sam, Speed all become lane and game-winning threats when combined with Blue Marvel and Spectrum. That's basically the entire gist of this list. It works way better than it looks like it has any right to, and it is absolutely stellar. The creator of this list is Derek. This leads Thanos, Mockingbird, Goliath, and Sam. Those 4 are non-negotiable. Mockingbird being basically free is just so important to the list. Thanos is obviously giving you the stones, which you're using as ongoings for Goliath and Sam. Wiccan can be Luna, Phastos, or Hope. Again, I am partial to Luna in that spot. And Speed can be just regular old Captain America. There is a version of this that's doing quite well. I believe it is just running Captain Carter over Speed. So feel free to do that. Maybe I'm going to actually try that. I'm going to play on stream. I'm going to cut Speed for Captain Carter, and I'm going to cut Wiccan for Luna, and I'm going to try this list, and let's see how it does. All right, so let's go card by card and explain this one. So Ant-Man is a 1/5 that can easily become a 1/9 in this list, which is a lot of freaking power for a 1-drop, right? Blue Marvel and Spectrum obviously being the way to amp its power up. Goliath is also fed by Ant-Man. Goliath being fed by basically almost every card of the deck. Goliath isn't fed by Wiccan. Goliath isn't fed by Spectrum and isn't fed by Mockingbird, and Thanos, I guess, himself. But 4 of the 6 Infinity Stones do feed Goliath, which means that this is about as big as he's going to get without any shenanigans, and thus he is worth running here. Dazzler is also likely to be a 2/8. It's fairly similar in power to Goliath, although less consistently so. You are really very often filling up every spot on the board in this deck. Sam is a 2/8 and gives you that extra ongoing to start. That extra ongoing also makes Mockingbird cheaper. So you're starting with Mockingbird as a 5/9 because of Sam. He plays himself on either 2 or 3 as a 2/8, which is just crazy power, while also giving +2 to Goliath, an extra body for Blue Marvel, for Spectrum, so on. Cosmo is your way to stop Enchantress, fundamentally. If you think your opponent's going to try and blow up a lane, you play Cosmo there and you just win. You get extra cubes that way. He's good otherwise, but that's his real, like, super use. You're playing a Wiccan list, so you're trying to play on curve, play all your energy every turn, which means speed can get up to a 3/9. That's a lot of power and probably worth running. 3/9, however, is also the cap power of uh, classic Captain America, which is worth knowing if you play 3 ongoing cards in that lane. I'm not sure what's easier, staying on curve every turn for speed or getting that cap, but it is worth noting that difference. Super Skrull is here because it's ongoing week. It's possible Super Skrull leaves once Kahori comes out and ongoing goes down, but for the time being, Super Skrull is just too good to miss out on. Opponents dropping gores and nulls and stuff, and then being able to be like, all right, Super Skrull, thanks, have a great day, is insane. Wiccan is the best ramper in the game when he works, and you have a lot of early stuff, thanks to Thanos, to make sure he works. It can be dangerous, right? Like, sometimes you're just playing a lame 4/6, but hey, he is at least potentially absolutely game winning. Blue Marvel is buffing your whole board. Your whole board is usually in this deck 11 other cards. That's a 5/14 for Blue Marvel. That's pretty good. Spectrum is not buffing quite that many cards, but she's giving +2 to everything, and she has 7 herself. So even with just Sam Wilson and his shield on the board, she's playing as a 5/11. She's playing as far more than that almost always, though. She's playing as, generally speaking, let's say we've got 6 ongoing cards out. That's an extra 12 power to her. She's playing as a 6/19 at that point. She's real good. Mockingbird, between the shield and the stones, is basically almost always free. A free 9 is pretty damn good. And then you're very rarely playing Thanos in this list, but sometimes you do. Like Undestroyable 5/12, if you get the Time Stone out, is really nice. An Undestroyable 5/22 is game winning. So like that doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, hey, enjoy yourself. You just got a free giant lane winner. Not bad, right? So that is the card by card. This is rank 2 right now. Derek is currently rank 2 to Zunes. We do have that Zunes deck. It will be our lead deck tomorrow morning. So again, make sure you sub so you don't miss that. Uh, Also, the number 1 deck uses 0 new cards, which I think is going to be the thumbnail thingy. This is, I went 12 and 6, 67% plus 18 cubes, so a 1 cube average, 67%. This was all in the 90s. Turn 1, you want Stone Draw over Ant-Man. Turn 2, you want Sam over Goliath over Draw. Turn 3, Speed or Early Plays. Cosmo's fine. From here on out, you're going to play Mockingbird as you can. Turn 4 is Wiccan. Wiccan is a snap condition almost always. Mockingbird is a snap condition if you can get it free. You're also going to potentially combo earlier plays. You can Super Scroll from here on whenever he basically auto wins the game. You'll know if he does so pretty quickly. He's not as great against Doom 2099 decks, by the way, but he is insane against anything that runs like an Iron Man. Thanos is sometimes your turn 5 play. I think I actually prefer Blue Marvel now that I've played this deck more. If you have Wiccan, you can just sort of go off from here on out. Turn 6 is Spectrum, or you can play Blue Marvel, Mockingbird combos. Any of those can be a snap, depending on how much power you're adding. If you can get either Spectrum or Blue Marvel with Mockingbird at the end of the game, odds are your opponent will not be ready for that level of power spike across the board, and you should be able to win with a snap. This deck is really, really cool. Welcome to the meta. Ongoing Thanos. It was only a matter of time before they made enough cards before ongoing Thanos Zoo became meta, and Goliath and Sam Wilson really do put it over the top. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. I got to say thank you to a whole bunch of people relatively quickly because we got to go live. So thank you to Fat Nick, Patron of the Month, Abigail Houston, Meditor Burnout, Irregardless, LAB, Inc., I'm Frostman, Hotel Navigator, Thinking Poker, Prime Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Character Lee, Quarry Rude, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Prayer Frost, The Goat Singer, Hollowed, Only Fox, Synth, Absolute Shannon, Nightmare, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, Extra C, and Skippy T, Jessica Gamble, Mr. Slush, The King of Bros, Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kev C. Hoda, Ludacris, Clam, Colonel Foreman, Bricks, Do Click, Rob Silverman, M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., Mr. Quicksterry, Matt V., Runridge, Corbin, John Q., Jim McHugh, Yes Out, 8 Sage, One Big Man, Milkman for Reals, Cactus Jack, BG, Quitper Joe, Snap to Sisto, Model Spencer Cream, Green Goblin, Unabot, Flan, 56, The Fuzzy Dollar, Spectrum Mix, Hoot, Ocularis, Matt H., DJ Mac Hedgings, No Frickin' Flex, Nick Doug, Greek Geek, Sup Nicky, Zadrex, The King of Canada, Denman, Falcon, Fowler Newman, Jonesy, Two Tides, The Great Lord Evans, The Pirate King Tucker, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for see you on stream or see you tomorrow because we got so much more for you. Peace.